Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Coherence session 5, looking at the DLV tackle height. My name's John Widdowson. I'm one of the match official development team. I'm joined tonight by Rebecca Rees. Rebecca, if you'd just like to introduce yourself, that'd be great, please.
Yeah, hey, I'm Becca Rees. I'm at Northumberland Society. I currently referee within the Premier 15s, and you may have seen me being the assistant referee in the national leagues, and as well as local to the federation that I'm in, kind of referee at the regional leagues as well.
Thanks, Becky. Great to have you with us. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Also on the call, helping out tonight, is Michael Patz. Michael, do you want to just introduce yourself, please?
Thanks, John. Thanks, Rebecca. It's good to catch up again, although virtually. Yeah, welcome everyone. Awesome to be here. I'm the Match Official Development Manager. I'm looking after the things like the polls and the chat this evening. So please, if you've got questions, observations, thoughts, please put them in the chat. We'll look to answer them live as we go through, but any that we don't get to, we'll try and follow up after the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Also on the call is Leonie Pryor, one of the match official development team. Leonie is doing a sterling job and will be managing the slides for me. So it'll be a little bit like a Downing Street briefing where I ask for the next slide. So without further ado, the session's planned to finish at 7:30. As Michael said, at any point, if you've got any questions, please put it in the chat box. There are a few introductory slides that we're going to work through. So next slide, please, Leonie. Thank you. So again, if you haven't seen this already, this is the domestic law variation in its entirety. You're able to find this on the England Rugby Tackle Height Hub. So again, I'll give you a few minutes just to read that in case you've not seen it before. While people are just reading that, Becky, how have you found the new domestic law variation from your perspective and when you're out there officiating?
I haven't found it as imperfect as I thought I was going to. I think, as discussed, I haven't had that many additional penalties because of it, which I thought I would have. But I think there's also kudos to all the coaches and the players. I think I'm just impressed with their either, they've gone through the rigour of training a little bit, either more just to make sure that they are hitting the right spot and getting below the sternum. But yeah, it's just a learning and just, yeah.
Thanks, Becky. If you go on to the next slide, please, Leonie. So as I've mentioned, if you go on the QR code now that you can see on the screen, that would take you directly to the Tackle Height Hub. Again, if you go onto the QR code, you can access Keep Your Boots On, where our toolboxes and various other resources are available. And should you be looking for an England Rugby Refereeing Award or any sort of course, the final QR code is the GMS Course Finder. As part of the evening, we're going to look at a number of clips. 4 in total. It'll give you the opportunity to consider what happens in the clip, think about where you position yourself on the pitch in comparison to where the referee is, but also then, as Michael mentioned at the start of the call, there'll be a poll to offer your opinion of what your decision would be, and also another poll to identify how confident you would be around that decision. One of the things that can help match officials is a number of processes, but the process we're going to look at now is the desk principle. So if you could just move on to the next slide, Leonie, that would be great. So the desk principle is something that can be used to support a match official when an incident has occurred, and it'll allow them the opportunity to give themselves some real clarity around those key areas: describe, explain, sanction, and confirm. Beck, as you're on the call, hopefully you've not had to use this too many times, but when you have used it, what have you found of benefit from the desk principle?
what I've found by following this principle is actually it helps clear my thoughts a little bit more and follow. If you see something, a gut instinct has said it. However, describing it and explaining it, it kind of helps clear out those thoughts and helps you work out that process. So if you suddenly realize that your initial sanction may not be following your words, then you've had time, and it creates that time and for you to then become accurate.
Yep. Thanks for that. So again, it really gives you that, as you said, you've got a gut feeling about something, but this gives you that opportunity to pause, gather your thoughts, be able to describe what someone has done, explain why it was unacceptable, outline the sanction, and then confirm that the person that you've explained it to has understood it, if I've got that correct, Beck.
Yeah.
Thank you. So as part of the processes for match officiating, when we look at the clips, we're going to try and think about the tackle height framework. So one of the key things to think about when you're viewing the clip is obviously, has foul play occurred? Tapping into the desk principle, how would you describe it? And then finally thinking about what sanction you may apply. The 4 clips are all from one game, so if you can move on to the next slide, Leonie, that's great, thank you. And it is a National 2 Southeast game. We've used the one game to provide the 4 clips to try and give it a bit of context rather than lots of variable clips. And we'll get the first clip underway. You'll see it twice in real time, once at half speed, and then Beck and I will have a quick chat so I can just gather some of Becky's thoughts on the clip while everyone on the call completes the poll on what the sanction would be and how confident they would be. So, Leonie, if you could run the first clip, that would be brilliant, please. Thanks, Leonie. If you just hold it on that bit there. Michael, if you could launch the polls, that would be brilliant, please. Hopefully they're being launched. Beck, just your thoughts on that clip around, was the foul play? Your thoughts?
For me, there was I think a high tackle, I think above the sternum.
Yeah.
By Red. I thought that it was quite a passive tackle. He kind of absorbed it as he kind of went backwards. So for me, I think nothing more than a penalty for me.
Okay. I mean, the referee's positioning in terms of, would you expect yourself to be in that sort of position? Would there be anything different that you do?
I think I'd probably be around that area because you've just come from that breakdown and you're tracking that ball around. So you'd be there and you'd hopefully be able to see it in front of you, I would think. Or at least that's how I would probably move between the breakdowns.
Okay, that's great. Michael, how are we doing on the polls or the poll?
So for the first poll around the sanction, John, we've got about 80% are at penalty only. So we've got one person saying yellow card, and then the others are play on. So we're not too far away on that.
Yep, and that's pretty good in terms of a coherence. Everybody's pretty much around the same area, so that's great. Is there anything in the chat box from this first one?
No, chat box is clear, John, but the just around the confidence of the sanction and what they're seeing and giving. Accuracy, we're sort of 65% are more than comfortable there at 3s and 4s, and then we've got a couple who are at 2 on their accuracy.
Oh, brilliant. And that's great for the first clip. It's a great start. The next clip will be the big reveal. So I know what's on it. I'm not sure Beck does. So we'll have the big reveal. Leonie, next slide. And just go back one, Beck. Leonie, thank you. Hold it there a minute. Give people a chance to read it. So yeah, pretty much what you'd got on there from your observations, Becky, is reflected in what the group saw when they came to the sanction of penalty only. So 100% so far.
John, just to come in, if I may, just a question popped in the chat box. Just from a practical point of view, Bex, would you be looking to try and play advantage from that rather than just sanction it immediately? Because clearly the team in green are still in possession, aren't they?
Yeah, it would be something that I'd definitely think about. And if the ball became available and there was clearly nothing, it wasn't penalty only, and I'd probably be looking for that. To be completely honest.
Yeah. No, grand. Thank you.
Thank you, Beck. Okay, Leonie, if we can, now you've got the feel of it, those on the call, that's great. Without further ado, we're into the next clip. So thanks, Leonie. We'll just hold it there. As before, Michael's now just launching the polls for those on the call. Becky, what's your thoughts on this second clip?
From what I could see, I think for me, again, it's above the sternum. It looks like a couple players out.
Yeah.
And it's in that bit of open play, but again, it's a little bit passive. I wouldn't say it's anything more serious than that. And then it goes to deck. It almost looks like they're trying to hold him up, but they feel like that.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of be thinking along the similar lines of the previous clip, I think.
Yeah. So thinking penalty only on that one.
Yeah.
In terms of positioning, is that where you'd, based on what's happened, where you'd see yourself being?
I can see why referee. I think they're where you're near the try line. I think they are as well, and with you can see the picking up, going for those kind of that pick and drives or the pick and go similar at the try line. I think as a referee, I'd try and be round kind of infield a little bit more and in that defensive line to try and see more for if there was a grounding or something like that. But
so where the referee isn't bad, but if you were doing this, you'd be round a little bit more, so you got sight of the ball close to the try line and what's happening there.
Yeah, I'd probably try and get round a little bit more.
Okay, thanks for that, Beck. Michael, we'll come to you, see what's happening on the call with the polls.
So from the point of view of the sanction, we've got 85% are going penalty only, which is really good from the coherence perspective. And then from the how confident are they about accuracy of the sanction, we're up at 74% around 3 and 4, and then 25% at 2, and no one saying 1.
Brilliant. So anyone on the call, that's great. We, increasing in confidence all the time, which is fantastic. As we did last time, let's have a look at what the group who viewed the slide, what they came up with. So you can go to the next slide, Leonie, please. And I think that's pretty much what you'd got, Becky, is it?
Yeah, give or take, yeah.
I'll just give you all a few more seconds, and then we'll move on to
just a question in the chat just come in, John, around someone. Andy's not sure whether there was head-on-head contact, and what he's asking is, do you need to be completely sure before you penalise? So just a thought on that from yourself and Becky.
Yeah, again, Andy, it's a fair point. Again, the distance of the camera away from the incident. One thing I sort of reminded myself is that if it is head contact, we're into a whole different process now in terms of the World Rugby head contact process comes into play. So we just need to be mindful of that. If that makes sense, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely, John. So like you say, if we get neck head contact, we revert back to the head contact process rather than look at the DLV side of things. And I think, just to Andy's point, you do need to have that clear and obvious head contact. It needs to be there, and you're not asking yourself, was it? Because as soon as you start saying, was it, you're unsure. So you've got to be sure.
And I was just going to ask you about that, Beck, in terms of your thoughts about Andy's question. Probably the same as Michael's just replied. I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, if I see, if you see head contact, I like, kind of, you've definitely seen that. Then, as we've discussed, part of the head contact process. If you're umming and ahhing or you're not sure, then I think you'd be harder to sell it, I think, to the players.
Yeah.
Maybe go up.
So as with all things, we're making sure that it's clear and obvious. We've definitely seen it, and then we apply a protocol and facilitate a sanction where required.
Yep.
Okay, Leonie, if you can go to clip 3, please. And we'll get into it straight away. Whilst Michael's just facilitating the polls, over to you again, Beck. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so like the first two, I thought above the sternum. We're talking about the second tackler. I think the first tackler gets very low.
Yes, yeah.
It's all good, but definitely that second tackler above the sternum. But unlike the others, I thought it was a bit more dynamic. But I do feel it was kind of low force because the first tackler sort of took on board. So it was nothing more than a penalty for me.
So you were definitely happy with the first tackler.
Yeah.
Low, legal, everything. And the second tackler, you again seemed to be quite static at the start when the ball carrier arrived. And then seemed to move the ball carrier back and for initial contact above the base of the sternum.
Yeah, for me it was. Yeah.
Okay, Michael, how are we doing on the poll and the chat box? Yeah,
so a little bit more split around the sanction here. So we're sort of running at 45% are at yellow card, 30% are at penalty only, and then we've got a few at play on. So there's certainly a split there, which is what we'd have anticipated, because it's the actions of the second tackler. And then confidence is still pretty high though, John. So you're looking at 64% are at 3 or 4, and then 35% are at 2.
Yep. So again, the range that the polls coming in, is good. It's all in and around that area. So yeah, I'm not too worried. That's great. We'll have a look and see what the group who viewed the clip what they've got to say about it. So if you can go to the next slide, Leonie, that would be brilliant. So as you mentioned, Beck, a bit more dynamism in that second tackle. Yeah, I get the group felt that the initial tackler may have caused the ball carrier's height to lower a little. Okay, so there's some mitigation. Okay, we'll go.
If I can come in,
Michael?
Just a couple of good observations of I think we were talking on the last clip around that clear and obvious, and Chris has come in about we shouldn't be chasing sanctions. Absolutely, we're not suggesting that. It is a case of if you see it clearly, it's going through that process. Have you got that foul play, as you've rightly lined out, John, as your first question, and then work through that sanction framework.
Yep. So thanks for that, Chris. Thanks, Michael, for the review on that. We will go into the fourth and final clip for this evening. Whilst the polls are being run, Beck, final clip, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so it's slightly different to the other ones. I thought that with both tacklers came up, tackled the player again, sort of in that above sternum area. They both kind of came up together. However, I thought it was quite low speed, and I think both tacklers sort of cancelled each other out a little bit. I think if only had one flown up, it might have been a little bit more dominant. So I'm thinking more of a penalty only for me. Nothing more on that, or less for that one.
Okay, and again, we didn't look at or consider where your positioning would have been on the field around the contact area, but we can just see the referee. Is that where you'd see yourself as well, in and around that area?
Yeah, I think so. I think if just following play again, kind of similar to that first clip where I am kind of a little bit more on the angle of the chariot, kind of close to the ruck, and then when you follow a play round, looks like that's like the 10-meter line, I think. So around there, unless you've spotted some issues, you might be coming around. But no, probably similar position.
Thanks for that, Beck. Thank you for sharing that. Michael, how are we doing on the polls on the final clip?
So in terms of the sanction, we're at 75% at penalty only, and then we've got the 25% at play on. So slight variation there. And then just in relation to how confident people are, we're up at 70% around 3 and 4 on confidence, 25% at 2, and then we're down at 5% on the 1. So there's clearly I'm guessing from the angle of the camera, etc., John, there's
Yeah.
individuals who are a little bit concerned about the confidence of making the decision.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, it's always difficult when the camera's set back as it is, because as you touched on the call and brought up already, we do want to make sure that things are clear and obvious to us. So yeah, get that. We'll go into the big reveal then, Leonie, the last time. I think, Rebecca, everything there, or quite a bit in there, you highlighted when you were looking at it as well.
Yeah.
So you're still up there with 100% on all 4 clips. Well done, Rebecca. Well done. Yeah. I didn't intend to put you under pressure, but great to have you on the call break to be able to do that. I'm just conscious of time. We've only got 3 or 4 minutes left. I'm just going to ask Michael to check the chat box to see if there's anything in there from anybody on the call.
Just a couple of points, John, around that. Comes back to what you were describing there of the positioning, and I think the next slide sort of articulates that as well. Just we've got to work hard as referees, and some of the comments coming through the chat clearly reflects that. Of we need to get in the best position we can to make the best decision we can. And that's what it's about. Yeah.
And I think on the second clip, Rebecca, you mentioned that about you may work harder to get round to the side where the try line was. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely near the try line. You want to be there just in case. Well, so yeah, work hard for that.
Leonie, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. And again, listening to Michael and the summary of the chat box, I think those on the call who've hopefully enjoyed the 4 clips, engaged in the polls, you've already highlighted yourselves many of the bullet points that are on this final slide. Is there anything else, Rebecca, you'd add into there, or do you think that's a pretty good summary for positioning?
No, I think that's a quite good summary. I think, like Michael said, what the chat's going on about is that just, kind of keep working hard ultimately to make sure that you see things, and we can only ref what we see, especially when there's only, even in a team of 3 or whatever, we've only got a few people that will it take. So and see what ref what you see ultimately, and keep working hard to see it.
And I was going to ask you what your top tip is, but I'm guessing working hard to get to see what you can would be your top tip.
Yeah, and give yourself time as well. I think that it comes back to that sort of desk with the principle of just, you've got more time than you think to go through the process and how you're describing it, to make sure you get the accurate decision, or working hard to.
Yeah, thanks for that, and that's a great reminder, Beck. So thank you. And I guess we've looked at 4 clips quite quickly on this call. The call's only half an hour, but everybody's done a great job on the call of responding to the poll, and overall the confidence is quite high. So I'm guessing just working through that process of foul play, what have you seen, what the sanction is helping to embed that tackle height framework protocol. So Michael, anything from yourself before we start to wind down and end the call?
No, I think we've covered everything off in the chat, John, and thank you very much to Rebecca for her assistance this evening. Really appreciate it.
And again, it's spot on 7:30. Final thing from me is, first and foremost, everyone that's joined the call, thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for jumping on line and participating so actively in the polls. Hopefully you've enjoyed the last 30 minutes with us. As Michael said, I just want to thank Becca Rees for taking the time out of a busy schedule. You know, I know she has got a busy daytime life as well as refereeing in the Women's Premier 15 and also participating actively within a society. Thanks to Leonie, who's been working hard with the slides. Really appreciate that. And I'll leave the final word for yourself, Michael.
No, just thanks everyone. Thanks, as you said, John. Thanks to everyone coming on this evening. We've got one more session that we're going to run in November before we take a break at Christmas, and then we'll come back with some variation on the coherence exercises. But I'll leave the details of that till later. But thanks everyone. Take care.